If you were watching this channel last season in 2023, you may remember that I like to do live streams every Monday night about what I got right and what I got wrong in the particular week of fantasy football. Now, the main reason I like to do this is because transparency is very important to me on this channel, because I don't believe we can advance forward in fantasy football without acknowledging the mistakes that we made in the past to correct them moving forward. And I gotta tell you, I am 50 drafts deep on Underdog in 2024, and I'm still making a big mistake in drafts over and over again, and I'm trying to correct it today. So I'm walking you through exactly what I mean by the big mistake. So go down there, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support, because this took me a while to realize and really to put it into words so I could tell you guys what I'm doing. So like I said, I'm 50 drafts deep on Underdog at this point. So what I'm trying to do, since I'm 50 drafts deep and I plan on doing another 30 at least, is I'm in the mindset right now where I'm trying to diversify the fantasy football strategies that I'm using in fantasy drafts on Underdog at this point, because I want to give myself a very good opportunity to do a lot of different draft strategies so I have the best chance of winning, rather than sticking with one strategy like the zero running back strategy or the hero or the double hero running back strategy. I'm trying to utilize a little bit of everything, and a great tool to see based on data over the past 3 seasons what strategies have worked historically and what don't work is by going to RotoViz. Now, I highlighted RotoViz on the last draft strategy video I made earlier in the week about why the double hero running back strategy is no good. Well, I wanted to find what is even better than the hero running back strategy, which we found has a very high success rate over the years. So as you can see on the screen here, what I'm trying to focus on is by going wide receiver 3, getting your wide receiver 3 by the 4th round at the very latest here. That's the latest here that you want to take your wide receiver 3 historically, because advance rates in playoffs are actually really strong when you end up doing that. The key is, what do you do with that other pick? What do you do with that other pick in the 3rd, 4th, 2nd, maybe 1st round pick? Which position do you want, and how early should you be taking them? So I went with basically the range of strategies that had the best success rate and the worst success rates right here. So as you can see on the screen, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 in the first 3 rounds, that's a very effective strategy if you're getting a running back 1 in the 4th round. Your playoff advance rate is 21%, and your semifinals advance rate is 1.84, and your finals advance rate is almost 0.2%. Those are very high numbers historically in advance rates and best ball drafts right here. Now, the other draft strategies right here, there's some other good ones, right? Like getting your running back 1 in round 3, and then picking wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, then wide receiver 3 in round 4. That's also a strong playoff advance rate as well. But it's not quite as strong as getting your running back 1 in round 4 right here. Now, the other one to note here is that wide receiver 1 in the 1st round, then getting your tight end 1, which typically over the years has been Travis Kelce, has proven historically to be very good at giving you in the playoffs and possibly to the semifinals, because your semifinals advance rate is at 2.12 rather than 1.84 at getting your running back 1 in round 4. So historically, getting Travis Kelce in best ball has been a very good winning strategy. Now, this year it's different. This year, tight ends are going round 3 at the very earliest here. So you don't really have the opportunity to get a tight end in round 1 unless you're severely overdrafting somebody, which I would not recommend. And then getting a quarterback 1 in round 3 has historically been a good rate as well. 21.3% advance rate to the playoffs. So what I can tell you is that with these 3 strategies in particular, getting your running back 1 round 4, getting your tight end 1 round 2, and getting your quarterback 1 round 3, and then getting the rest of the other 4 rounds, getting 3 wide receivers, I've done more tight end 1s in round 3 and more quarterback 1s in round 3 than I have done with getting a running back 1 in round 4. And I gotta tell you, I am missing out on a very efficient way to not only make the playoffs, but to advance if I end up hitting on the right guy. So, first of all, let's take a look at who those running backs are that are sitting there in the 4th round of Underdog best ball drafts right now. The running backs that are sitting there are Travis Etienne and Isaiah Pacheco based on ADP as we sit here today, on Saturday, July 13th. Now, there's another guy who is kind of borderline 4th, 5th round guy, Josh Jacobs, and I've actually taken more of him, but I usually get him in the 5th round. So let's take a look at how many shares of those guys I have. As you can see on the screen, I have exactly 1 share of Travis Etienne and 1 share of Isaiah Pacheco. And the only reason I have Isaiah Pacheco particularly is because when I did the research last night on Friday night, I did a draft immediately after that, and I grabbed Isaiah Pacheco. I don't have any of those round 4 running backs. And Josh Jacobs, I have 5 shares of him. But again, I think every time I've gotten Josh Jacobs, I've gotten him in the 5th round. So basically what I'm doing is I'm punting on 2 highly historically good fantasy running backs right here. Now, let me evaluate the reasons why that I don't have Etienne and Isaiah Pacheco. I have spoken publicly about my distrust for Travis Etienne in 2024 fantasy football. Now, if you remember back in 2023, if you were with me, I had like 2,000 subscribers. Travis Etienne was a guy I was actively saying, go draft him. In underdog best ball, draft him in a dynasty startup, draft him in a redraft league because this dude's about to be a league winner. And he was the RB3 in half PPR last year, so largely I was pretty right about that one. Now, the problem with Travis Etienne that I have this year, as opposed to last year, is that earlier in the offseason, we have seen reports that Doug Peterson himself, the head coach over there, has said that they want to limit his workload and they want to use Tank Bigsby a little bit more. And I think that can easily be backed up because when you look at Travis Etienne, the last half of the season, his efficiency was down. His production overall was down because he was getting so much volume. The reality is Travis Etienne is not built like a Derrick Henry. He's not built like a Nick Chubb. He's not built like a Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to handle a consistently 20 to 25 touch workload and be really efficient and be really good every week. That's just not in Travis Etienne's DNA. Travis Etienne is very efficient and hyper productive on less touches. That's why they want to get Tank Bigsby more involved this year. So I have had issues taking Travis Etienne in drafts because I really do think we're taking Travis Etienne relatively close to his ceiling. And Isaiah Pacheco is a guy that I think we're taking around his ceiling as well. If you look at Isaiah Pacheco, he's a guy who's very efficient guy, and he's always good. Like the past 2 years, he's been very good when he's played in fantasy football. The problem that I have with Isaiah Pacheco is when we look at the Kansas City Chiefs offense, this isn't all of a sudden going to become a run-first offense, especially when they added weapons to this wide receiver room with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. They're going to be a pass-first offense, which means the run will work off the pass, which means Isaiah Pacheco probably produces around where he did last year. But what if they don't? And I'm sitting here looking at the success rate of this draft strategy right here, 21% advance rate when you take a running back 1 in round 4 after taking 3 wide receivers straight, 1.84 semifinals advance rate, and a 0.18 finals advance rate right here. This is simply something that I need to utilize more often right here. And like I said with the tight end strategy and the quarterback strategy, I've actually done more of that as well. You can see on the screen right here, I've taken Sam Laporta a total of 5 times, and I've also taken Travis Kelce a total of 2 times. So I've taken Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, 7 total times in my drafts. Now again, this is a draft strategy I personally recommend. Getting a tight end 1 this early on is historically just a winning strategy in best ball leagues, and you could take advantage of it today signing up on Underdog with code FFN, and they'll give you $250 bonus cash to play with in there, so you could do pick'em leagues, or you could get in a draft and utilize this draft strategy by picking Sam Laporta or Travis Kelce in the 3rd round, because this is the latest we've been able to get Travis Kelce in a draft in years. So it could turn out to be very good, or it could turn out to be very good to get Sam Laporta. And then quarterbacks in that range as well. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. I have 0 of Jalen Hurts. Definitely am going to change that though. But I've got 5 shares of Josh Allen. So I'm actively trying to target an early quarterback and an early tight end in certain drafts that I do when I'm trying to utilize this particular strategy right here. But with the running backs in particular, I have just had an inherent distrust of Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Etienne having a much higher ceiling than when they're being drafted at. But the reality here is that Travis Etienne and Isaiah Pacheco easily could finish well past where they're being drafted at right now. But Travis Etienne is going as the running back 10 and Isaiah Pacheco is going as the running back 11 in underdog best ball drafts right now. So the reality is they could be top 10 backs very easily. And I want my audience to be able to get in on the strategy because of the success rate that it has had over the past several seasons. But I'm also not going to lie to you guys and say that I have trust that Pacheco and Etienne are both going to be top 10 to top 5 guys this year. I really don't believe that. So the video I made a couple days ago trying to find bust-proof wide receivers in fantasy football, that really applies to this particular type of strategy. Because if you're shooting for the upside with a guy like Etienne and Pacheco, they may not hit that upside, but you can get the insurance with a good bust-proof wide receiver. So if you're looking at the draft board right now, the running backs and the wide receivers in the first 4 rounds of underdog drafts, what if you end up with the 103 or the 102 and you have the opportunity to take CeeDee Lamb and then or Tyreek Hill? So let's say you get one of those high upside, also very high floor wide receivers in the first round. Well, then when you're looking at in the second round here, you're looking at guys in the range of someone like a Devonta Smith right here. That's a very good bust-proof guy to target at the back of the second round. Or you may want to go for more upside and pick a Deebo Samuel who is extremely boomer bust, so then you really want to go with a bust-proof wide receiver in the third round. Well, that's when you could get a guy like Michael Pittman in the third round. That's a very bust-proof guy. Honestly has more upside to be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy than Devonta Smith does in the second round. And then in the fourth round, you could go ahead and grab Travis Etienne or Isaiah Pacheco. So that way you have 2 major upside wide receivers with Deebo Samuel and Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and then a Michael Pittman as your third wide receiver to give you a super safe floor as the wide receiver 3, and then getting your Travis Etienne or your Isaiah Pacheco as your RB1. This is not a strategy that I have been wild on this offseason. I have not done much of it, but really just going through and studying the success rate of all these different strategies that you can use in a best ball draft, the numbers just don't lie on this one. I have to start utilizing this more. It's a mistake that I've made, and I want to say it publicly right now because I want my audience to be able to get in on this strategy as well. So let me know what you think of this particular strategy in the comments below, and what strategy you prefer so far in 2024 fantasy football.